Glenn, it was a fantastic week in Europe for some English teams, not so good for one particular English team.
Yeah, it started off on a disappointing foot. Even though Arsenal put a really good performance in the Champions League, unfortunate exit against PSG. That's the third English team they've put out. But from that point on, it was good. An all Europa League final, Manchester United and Spurs, which will be an interesting tie.
Yeah.
And then obviously Chelsea, favourites in the Conference League, getting through, and one more step for them to win all the European trophies available. First team to do it.
Wow, unbelievable. Well, since you mentioned Chelsea, we start with a six-pointer in the race for Champions League qualification at St James's Park, and it is Newcastle against Chelsea. Let's hear from the managers.
Chelsea gave us one of our toughest games of the season at Stamford Bridge earlier this season. I thought they were excellent, and I think they've started to recapture that form in their recent games. I think Enzo's a very, very good manager. He's very clever with what he does, with the style of play that they possess, and I think they've got really good attacking players that can hurt us if we're not right. So we need to get our preparation right.
It's a big one. It's a huge one. United will be a big one. Forest will be a big one. Now we have 3 more games. That all of them they're gonna be big games for sure. Sunday. It's a chance to start in the right way. We are in a good run, in a good mood, and hopefully we can play a good game and win the game.
Yeah, they really are in a good run, in a good mood. It feels like the momentum's with them. They obviously beat Liverpool last time out, which was major. A little bit expected. Liverpool had already wrapped it up. They had a party way into the night at Anfield and then went and lost at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea are in a good run of form, but this is a 6-pointer.
This is a big game. It's a big game. There's a few teams going for those top 5 spots. And of course, St James away is not an easy feat for any team. So they know that if they manage to get a result here, it puts them with a good chance. But Newcastle know that if they equally get a result, it just means that it makes the whole thing really interesting. And yeah, those midfields as well. It's going to be a big battle.
Yeah, really looking forward to the fact that Chelsea, obviously they beat Liverpool. That'll be a big bonus for them. They're into the final, bonus for them. But the biggest bonus, I think, is Cole Palmer returning to the score sheet for the first time since Jan.
Yeah, I think obviously it's been a big topic, big issue. I don't think his performance has been that bad. I think they've gradually been getting better, scripted back to basics. But yeah, I think finding the back of the net with that penalty, just giving that a lot more confidence. But Chelsea going into this game, what I would say they're doing is they're finding a way to win football games again. And like you say, they're gaining that momentum. They had a really bad start to the year. But this is when it matters. And going into the game, Newcastle, Eddie Howe will expect a reaction. Disappointing result at Brighton last week. Didn't really seem to get off the bus, in all honesty. So it's going to be a big clash on Tyneside.
Have you ever been in a position like that where you are...
Too many times. I'm an expert.
I obviously touched a nerve here because I didn't even finish the question. I didn't even finish the question. So what do you do then? What is it about? Because he came out and he was talking about trolls on social media after that, and you can tell that he'd been struggling. Enzo Maresca said a few weeks ago it's a mental problem now as well. What do you think? What did you see in that game against Liverpool? Because it was a great performance from him that you think went right, that you could see was a big difference.
Well, listen, when his technical ability is always going to be there, but I think what really benefits Cole Palmer is Nicholas Jackson in the team, because when Nicholas Jackson plays for Chelsea, he's got his critics when it comes to being in front of goal, but in general play, this is what he does. He doesn't quite get hold of the ball, but he stretches the play, which then gives Cole Palmer a little bit of space in that number 10 position. And then once you when you're in these runs, you strip it back to basics, and then your confidence slowly comes back more and more. And we can see here in this game, he just got better and better. Again, it's not Nicholas Jackson, it's Madueke, but a forward runner, someone to play the ball. And that's ultimately what Cole Palmer does. He always wants to impact the game. He wants to play forward all the time. And here, this is the cheeky Cole Palmer we've become used to. And then this will be a sight for sore eyes for Chelsea fans, finally hitting the back of the net. But when it comes to when you talk about, we see his touch map there, so it shows how influential he was on the game. But when we talk about kind of being in a bad run of form, when you've been so good as Cole Palmer has been, he's been getting the plaudits, people soon turn on you. And it's all that package of being a young man. It's the first time it's happened to him, so it's all new to him. But next time, this won't last as long because he'll know how to come out of the other side.
What do you do? Just because you said you've been through something like that, what do you do? Do you go back to basics?
Yeah.
How much are you overthinking everything?
Well, because you want to do well, you over try, you try things that possibly you wouldn't have done when you were in that rich vein of form. You drift into areas maybe you don't really want the ball. You try and get involved. It's about just going back to basics, keeping the ball 5, 6, 7, 8 passes, and then building off the back of that, building that confidence, and slowly but surely you'll hit that form again.
Isn't it interesting what Glenn was saying? You know, it's the first time we've really seen this from Cole Palmer. He kind of burst onto the scene. He was allowed to be free, ice-cold Cole Palmer. And then this was happening, and it wasn't everything he was touching just seemed to be so unlike what we've seen from him. And suddenly there was a little bit of pressure.
I think that's the frustrating thing for him as well, because it's not a moment he's dealt with, and it's a very young team. It's not like there's a lot of experienced heads to put a hand around the shoulder and say, listen, you've got this. And I always say that in life, you have to protect the breadwinner. That's what he is to Chelsea. He makes things happen. So there were times where he was creating chances and no one was putting them away. So the irony of him scoring the penalty that Caicedo worked hard for was a beautiful moment. It feels like everyone else is pulling the boat forward and he can be the captain to sort of sail the ship. So it's needed, especially with the games coming up right now. Jackson being on the score sheet, him creating, they can hopefully take that form and seal Champions League football.
What about from a Newcastle point of view? As you mentioned, they want a reaction. They needed Alexander Isak to rescue a point for them last time out.
Yes, I think with Newcastle, it's an interesting one because their whole season has been an interesting journey. At the beginning, people kind of thought, where are they? And then suddenly they just surged to be in this position. And a lot of people are always going to talk about Isak because of his goal-scoring exploits, but Jacob Murphy's been amazing this season. I think that this game in particular, Tonali is going to be so important. Between him and Caicedo, they're probably going to cover every blade of grass
Twice.
on the pitch, twice, exactly. And I think when you have characters like that are just give you everything, it's infectious to your team. You know that, and Isak can wait for a moment because he's got provisions coming left, right and centre. So they need to provide service to him, of course. He can make his own moments, but I really think that that midfield battle is going to be where this game's won.
Yeah, Alexander Isak, though, does tend to take all the highlights because of what he could do in a game that we saw, like against Brighton. When they need someone to step up in the 89th minute from the spot, he managed to do it. What makes him so good? What do you like most about him?
Oh, well, he's a complete number 9. He can hold the ball up, he can score from anywhere, feet or head, and he's mobile. He gets around the pitch. My biggest worry going into the season for Newcastle was his fitness, because Callum Wilson's always going to be an issue fitness-wise. So only having 2 strikers, I did worry for Newcastle, but the form this man has been on has been absolutely sensational. And the biggest problem for Newcastle is keeping hold of him.
If they get Champions League football, though, if you were in this situation and, you know, there were other clubs, everyone says, are there bigger assignments, more glamorous assignments? But if you happen to get Newcastle, you've been with them to win a trophy, to end a very long wait, you've then helped them qualify for the Champions League. Do you think you'd be inclined to stay?
I mean, that's only a question for Alexander, isn't it? I'm sure there's going to be a lot of clamber. I'm sure that resolve's going to be tested throughout the summer. And unfortunately, footballers get their heads turned sometimes.
He's just sat on the fence. I've said, what would you do? Now he said,
what would I do?
Yes.
I personally would stay, but if the likes of a Real Madrid come knocking, how often does that happen in your career?
What would you do? What do you think?
I think you stay for another season. Like you said, they are heroes in Newcastle, every single one of them, especially him. And I think the fact that he's breaking records, the fact that he is the man in that team, it's a great feeling. You can go somewhere else and suddenly it all changes. Like, ride this wave for a bit longer, I would say.
Do you know, when I was looking at this game, sorry, Glenn, I know you're doing the stats tonight. Just allow me a moment here, please. When I was looking at this game, it surprised me that Enzo Fernandez in 2025 is second in terms of creating chances to Mo Salah.
With Enzo, again, it's a lot of passes from deep in midfield that he makes, lovely passes. And I think if you look at his whole time at Chelsea, you probably ask yourself, watching those tapes, why is no one else capitalising on this? And that's where Maresca, you look at how he's utilised his squad and how it's changing things. You're getting the most out of him. You're seeing him pop in the box to score finishes as well, which is great. I think he's finally finding his feet. He did have some difficulties with the injury as well, where he wasn't 100%. You're seeing the best of that player that Chelsea bought for that fee. And I think finally the marriage between him or your Caicedo or your Lavia or wherever Cole Palmer is, there's a sense of balance now. Everyone's doing what they need to do and not finding themselves in weird positions.
Does he get if you play Cole Palmer in the higher midfield role, so say in the 8, does he get in those 2 6s? I personally think Caicedo needs to be in there.
Caicedo
so then
has
it's
to be
between.
there. And what Lavia's, you saw Lavia in the Liverpool game. It's different, press resistant, able to get out of danger. I think if you put Cole Palmer in a wing position, you can then have him in an 8. Yeah. And can have that flexibility.
So you're sacrificing Cole Palmer for Enzo.
But Cole Palmer especially can do it anyway. He can do it anyway, can't he?
Well rescued.
Well, what are you doing?
I don't think I play him.
Who, Enzo?
Yeah. I think Lavia is that good. I don't think we've seen the best of him yet. I think he's got more potential, more to give, and I think you can't leave Caicedo out from that defensive responsibility he gives.
Okay, so Newcastle versus Chelsea, St James's Park, same number of points, same goal difference. Everybody's fighting for Champions League football. I can't wait to hear these guys' predictions at the end of the show. Now, Manchester City can move one step closer to Champions League qualification with a victory over relegated Southampton on Saturday, a game which could see the return of Erling Haaland to City's starting 11. Haaland was on the bench against Wolves a week ago, but he hasn't featured since the FA Cup quarterfinals in March. City are in a great position to finish in the top 5, and Pep Guardiola has urged his team to finish the job.
We were not good. I was not good to find a way, but we didn't give up. That's why we are here. We're still fighting, to qualify for the Champions League. That is a big prize. Everyone has to admit that, and in the final FA Cup. And we won the Community Shield in the beginning of the season against United. So we won one title, we fight for the second, and we want to qualify. In terms of results after that, I said, oh, okay, no, it's not being good, I know, but it could be worse.
Nottingham Forest desperately need points after failing to win their last 2 games. They host Midlands rivals Leicester, and Nuno Espirito Santo is calling on the club's home supporters to make the difference this weekend.
I know our fans, and our fans are aware of what we are doing now in the moment. They are aware that it's not easy game around in the Premier League. So what we want our fans to come in and to support us, to make the noise, to help us get through the game.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because Forest all season looked nailed on to get that 3rd spot, and then suddenly the last little while it's gone a bit downhill for them. They lost to Brentford last time out. This is absolutely huge for them.
Yeah, I feel for them because they've done so well. They've played a specific way, and it looks like the road is running out a little bit. They're trying to crawl to the finish line, and I think no matter what happens, it's been a great season. European football is guaranteed for them. They definitely want that Champions League though, and they're going to fight for it. Leicester's a favourable fixture, but of course it is a derby game, so you never know what could happen. But they need to literally bite down on the gum shield now and just swing them hits, because this is it now. It's do or don't now, right?
Yeah, it is. This is the perfect remedy, I feel, Leicester. Like it is a derby, but I feel as though this is exactly the tonic they need, and I don't think this will be the last time we hear the manager calling for the fans. Obviously got that massive game, last game of the season at the City Ground against Chelsea. Yeah, it feels as though as the season's progressed, expectation has risen, and all of a sudden they're not riding the crest wave, they're not riding that momentum. They're expected to be a Champions League team, and they just seem to be faltering.
Yeah, because they put the whole Premier League on notice, and now suddenly the pressure is amped up, as you mentioned. I'm just looking at the table, and I'm thinking Arsenal are not out of it yet. They could still not finish among the Champions League places. Manchester City now could go on and go into second with the run that they've got. You got Chelsea and Newcastle who could take each other out when they face each other at St James's Park. There's Villa still with the outside chance, and there's Forest. It's so incredibly tough. It's with the title wrapped up and relegation already confirmed. It's the most exciting thing that we're all watching, and it could all change this weekend and right up until the final day.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it'll change a number of times. Even within those 90 minutes, we're watching that live table. There'll be comings and goings, and it boils down to who can find that form and who can hold their nerve in these last weekends of the season.
Who misses out for you guys?
I'm
Top
going
5.
Villa and Forest.
Okay.
I think ultimately City are just going to have momentum from here on out. I think that Newcastle's strong proposition, and I think that Chelsea will do what they need to do. That final game of the season, there was a blockbuster fixture, right? Like,
I think that's what it goes down to. I think it goes down to that fixture at the City Ground, Chelsea, Forest. I think City are in, Newcastle are in, obviously Liverpool, Arsenal, and I think it goes down to that game.
Oh, do you know what my boss told me today? I'm going to the City Ground last day of the season. Oh, what a game.
That'll be amazing.
Good.
Yeah.
Amazing atmosphere.
Do you think that is the one? I mean, Forest
Yeah.
just got to stay in it, and then you never know, right?
Yeah, I don't think that Villa have got enough to muster that challenge. So yeah, you're going to have the best game of the weekend, I think, Jules.
Manchester City, to be fair, though, you know, whatever was happening before, they could still have a great end to the season where they do finish second, where they do get Champions League football, where they could win the FA Cup as well. And now they've got Erling Haaland, who is ready and raring to go, according to Pep.
Yeah, I think with City, it's all about incentive, right? They have incentive to do something extremely funny and pip Arsenal to second. But what I love about Haaland coming back is we may see this beautiful thing of him and his running mate KDB run it back one more time. It's probably the most devastating partnership we've seen in recent years in the Premier League. And I mean, we know that KDB seems to be leaving. There's some quotes that came out midweek that seemed a bit funny. And Haaland could give him the gift of just showcasing how great their partnership is by scoring a few goals. So that's not good news for Southampton in any way, shape or form, but it's good for the neutral that probably want to see a lot of goals.
Yeah, and obviously it's good for City going into a cup final. It'd be nice for him to hit the back of the net, get that feeling back again, like you say, build that relationship a little bit more, just fine tune it. But I mean, as for Southampton, you've got to feel for them. Erling Haaland back, and obviously they need to stop conceding, because at the moment they've not conceded quite as many as Derby, who were the lowest ever. Yeah. So they're equal on points at the minute. So if they don't get another point, they'll be looking to try and keep that back door shut, so they can say that mathematically they weren't the worst Premier League team ever.
Well, good luck to them with Erling Haaland waiting in the wings. There'll be no Premier League title for Arsenal this season again. This weekend they travel to face the champions Liverpool at Anfield. We'll hear from Mikel Arteta, but first here's Arne Slot speaking for the first time since Trent Alexander-Arnold announced he is leaving the club.
I think, like everybody who likes Liverpool and who's a fan of Liverpool, we are disappointed for him leaving, because not only a good human being is leaving the club, but a very, very, very good fullback is leaving us as well. But I also worked at clubs like AZ Alkmaar and Feyenoord, where every season a very good or multiple very good players have left the club. So I'm a bit more used to it, maybe, that players leaving the club, and the experience I have, and by the way this club as well, that if a very good player is leaving, the next very good player will step up.
They've been the better team, they've been the most consistent. What Arne and the coaching staff they've done has been fascinating, it's been really good, and they fully deserve it. And that's the sport. When somebody's better, you have to applaud and accept and try to reach that level.
Okay, so the big news, Trent Alexander-Arnold confirming that he will not be a Liverpool player. Mayowa, where can he go in Liverpool now? Where's he not banned from?
Probably his family house. It's probably about it.
What a reaction.
Yeah, in all seriousness though, I think the reaction to this has been super interesting, because I think the other big two signing on and then Trent not probably leaves a sour taste, because he's one of their own.
Yeah.
It means something, but he's done everything there. He's given everything, and I think sometimes enjoy the memories. It shouldn't have to be this sour note to end on.
Do you think there's an element of, well, you know, you're from here, you could have at least fetched some kind of fee for the club?
But that's not his fault though, is it? That's an FSG thing that they have to look at. And I mean, it's been said for so long that this is going to be a thing in football, that if you don't tie the player down, they will walk on a free. So that's just the occupational hazard of not tying down a contract. And I mean, good luck to him wherever he goes next, but he's been a wonderful servant to that club and to the Premier League.
Yeah, it'd be a pity if they forget that just because of the way he's leaving and the fact that he's leaving. But we're living in an age where a lot more younger English players are playing abroad, and he might see that from other players and be attracted to a different lifestyle because this is all he knows.
Yeah, I mean, like Mayowa says, he's won everything. What more is there to do? Yeah, he's a local lad, but he's also seen heroes of his in the past, Steve McManaman, Michael Owen, leave the football club and go to Real Madrid. I mean, I think if you sat him down, obviously it's not confirmed he's going to Real Madrid, that's the rumour, but I think if you sit Trent Alexander-Arnold down, it's like 2 or 3 clubs he might leave his football club for. It's so minimal, but when kind of those giants of Europe come knocking, obviously Liverpool are a giant of Europe, but when you've kind of grown up in that city, you're drawn to other football clubs as well. And I think this is the right moment for him to believe in the football club. I think it's the right decision for him personally to progress his career and to discover life elsewhere.
And he does leave, whether they like it or not, as a legend. He will, maybe not now, maybe it's soured, the fact that he's leaving and he's leaving on a free. But he does leave as a legend. He's got the most Premier League assists for a defender of all time. Where do we think he ranks in terms of Premier League right backs? Or will that become more apparent with time, with hindsight?
I think it depends on who you ask. There's a whole generation of people watching Trent and being like, I never thought this was possible for a footballer. And they will put him number one. There's people from different school of thought which say, going forward, number one, but the whole totality of his game, they can't put him there in merit. So I think it depends on who you ask, but you can't take away his impact, honestly. For a right back to be that potent in attacking the technical ability, it's changed football in many senses. Now, a lot of people want a fullback that can put the ball anywhere, right? And it's because of his input. So you've got to give him his credit.
He's so polarising, exactly because of what you said there. If you've got a defensive-minded person, they're going to be like, well, he was all right. But if you've got someone who you're thinking, I want my fullback to go forward and create chances, then he's the elite. He's the best in the business. So it depends which way you want to look at it, but all we can say is what we've seen and the moments he's created and what he's achieved at Liverpool has been outstanding.
Loved playing with him.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't be bothered. Get beat 3-2 every week if I got 2.
Yeah, Trent Alexander-Arnold. I feel like he's the one of the three we always thought was going to go. If they were going to get a hat-trick of all the players out of contract done, that would have been a minor miracle. To get Virgil and to get Mo Salah done was big enough. Trent was the one most people expected to leave. What does that mean for Liverpool, though, and the future and that position?
Well, they've got Conor Bradley there, so they obviously feel as though that they've got a successor to a certain extent. He won't fill exactly what Trent does. I don't think anyone in the world could, but I think there will be a position they try and strengthen this summer as well, as in just another one as well as Conor. But do you know what? I think what Arne Slot's done by keeping those three kind of transfers running out, those contracts running out, the talk to a minimum. I think managerially he's done absolutely fantastic. And if there's anyone that they probably would have wanted to tie down, it probably would have been Trent because he's got future value, whereas the other two haven't so much. But the other two, what I will say, are real leaders.
What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think ultimately he's been pivotal in a way that Liverpool have played for so long. And this season, Liverpool slightly tweaked the former club years.
In fact, he's probably defined the way they play. They've probably based it around him, haven't they?
Exactly. And what it allows a new manager to do is, that was what happened now. This year we tweaked it a little bit. Now we're not reliant on that anymore. And this is a manager that's going to get his opportunity to actually make signings. I'm intrigued to see what he envisages his fullbacks to be and what impacts that has on the team. Mo Salah, his whole game has changed a lot this season. So those subtle changes for a manager are quite exciting, and it means that he gets a step away from the Jurgen Klopp Liverpool. And one of those key chapters, which was Trent, that is pushed aside a bit. So I'm looking forward to it. I remember when they signed Robbo from Hull, and everyone thought, oh, what's this? But it turned out to be one of their best servants. Yeah. Did they make a signing like that? Did they go for a big name? We're yet to know, but it's exciting times for sure.
Yeah, and it's exciting for Trent, even if it means he can't go anywhere. He's banned from every day I'm opening social media and seeing where he's banned from. Couple of months ago, maybe in 2024, we thought that this had the potential to be a title decider. It's very different now for Arsenal falling short. They've had a nightmare week. They lost to Bournemouth, which means that top 5 position is not even guaranteed. That second place is not even guaranteed. They're knocked out of the Champions League semi-finals as well. Very, very tough week for Mikel Arteta.
Yeah, super tough. Well, the worst week he could have went, kind of thing, when he was laid in bed on that Friday night, looking forward to the Bournemouth game. Exactly how he didn't wish it would have went, but unfortunately it has, and it's about picking yourself up and showing that character and that drive, and like you say, at the bare minimum, confirming Champions League football for next year, because we can see that they can go deep in the competition and they can challenge, but it's going to be tough. I think Liverpool will want to prove a point in this fixture.
Yeah, a lot of interesting quotes coming out from Arteta after that Champions League defeat. Yeah, I'm not sure what to make of it. What did you make of it?
I think a lot of it is a defence mechanism. I mean, a lot of people still think that the trophy he won wasn't his trophy because of the nature of how he won it with the FA Cup. A lot of the talk is this team has been primed to win something, and it's again another season of not winning something. There's a lot of pressure on him, and this team's growing. It's got value. We're seeing players in that team show that they are of world level. So now you've got a manager that's dealing with, I've fallen short of wanting to win a trophy. I've got players here that want to win things. People are questioning why I haven't delivered, especially after an amazing 2 legs against Madrid. It probably just all got to him, and he just wants to be like, we've done something, we've achieved well, we were the best team in Europe, which is up for debate with a lot of people, to be honest. So I just think the pressure is a lot, and I think that's why in this game he has to be really careful, because Liverpool are going to want to prove a point. They're going to want to make sure that even though they've won the league, when we look back in history, they won it well. They beat their nearest contenders. Arsenal can't afford to just start slipping now. And we see it with Arsenal every season. There's a period of 3 or 4 games where the results got a bit funny and it changes the trajectory of their season. So they've got to get their ideas ready and be ready for a tough game.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously Liverpool now at Anfield for the first time since wrapping up the title. We know what happened last time out against Chelsea. They won't want to make that mistake again. While we're talking about Liverpool and shoring up defensive positions, Arsenal, undoubted, everyone knows what they need to buy this summer.
Yeah, without doubt. We've been saying it for 4, 5 transfer windows now. That's been, I think a wide opinion of many football people in the country. And Mikel Arteta didn't feel the need to. Obviously, the funds were there to do it. He went and got Sterling from Chelsea at the drop of a hat as soon as available. He acted because he wanted him. Whereas he's just been so reluctant to get that number 9. And I almost think we're getting to that stage of this is the last roll of the dice for Arteta, as in he's brought them so far. He's done a fantastic job. He's gone close on numerous occasions in the Premier League. He's gone deep in the Champions League. But what he's missing is a number 9. I think they'll go and get a good number 9, a big number 9 in the summer, and then they'll see what they can achieve next year.
Don't you think it's absolutely wild that this is a club that's challenging in the Champions League semi-final, that it was pushing for the title and they just didn't have a number 9? They literally, Kai Havertz was the guy and then he got injured.
Yes, he's not a 9, a false 9. But yeah, and do you know what? I think they've probably left it to the worst window.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the market, Liverpool are in for a 9. If Isak moves, Newcastle want a 9. So there's going to be a knock-on effect of 9s moving around in the summer. I'm sure Manchester United want a 9. 9s are back in vogue. So he's waited 5 transfer windows and it's going to be super hard to get a good one.
That's the boots off me.
People who have a good 9 are just like dollar signs right now, the pound signs. Wow. Oh, we are raising prices. Probably going to see some crazy numbers in terms of those 9s in the transfer window. Well, Arsenal couldn't make it through to the Champions League final. The final of the Europa League will be an all-Premier League affair between Manchester United and Spurs after both won their semi-final second legs on Thursday. United beat Atletico Bilbao 4-1 at Old Trafford to set up a meeting with Spurs, and ahead of hosting West Ham this weekend, Ruben Amorim admits that the club's main focus is on winning the Europa League to secure Champions League qualification.
Both teams are going to play like all or nothing in this kind of game. It's quite similar. The position of the coach is quite similar. I know that Ange has one more year. It is different, the context, but we are struggling, both of us. So I don't know what is going to happen. That is a good thing and a bad thing with this team. I never know.
Spurs will meet United on the 21st of May after seeing off Bodo Glimt in their semi-final. And Postecoglou was in a spiky mood in his post-match press conference when asked about his team's struggles this season.
The debate's now raging. I've heard the latest one is then neither of us will be able to get a trophy if we win. We're just going to take a team photo because we're not worthy. I mean, who cares if we're struggling in the league? Why is that important when if it's so easy to get to a final? Then why doesn't everyone who finishes in the top 3 do it? I mean, it's a separate thing. It's got nothing to do with league.
Interesting point there. Who cares if we're not doing well in the league? I'm pretty sure there's some Spurs fans who care about it. But what a setup here. 2 managers, as Amorim said, that are both in a very similar position, both under pressure, both underperformed, have a chance to win a European trophy standing in each other's way. What a setup. I mean, this is football.
I mean, Arsenal fans, it's probably double jeopardy because it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. One of them's going to win and it makes your season look somehow. But for both of these two teams in particular, they could finish 15th, 16th or 17th in the Premier League and have a ticket to the Champions League. I've never seen anything like it before, and they've both been under so much pressure for different reasons. I don't know what to expect from that game. I honestly don't. I don't know if it's going to be like a hilarious 5-4. I don't know if it's going to be a stalemate. It's bizarre that we've got to this point that these two teams will have, or one of them will have Champions League football.
Well, it's a get out of jail free card, isn't it? Basically, that would have been their aim at the start of the season to get in the Champions League, and they have still got that opportunity via a different competition. It's going to be must-watch TV. I think it'll be an amazing game of football. I think last time I was on when they came across each other in the Premier League, it was called the Desperation Derby, and for them to meet in a European final. And Spurs not won a trophy for so long. Ange always promised, right from day dot, I always deliver. Second year, I always deliver a trophy. And he's on course to do that.
Oh, and she did. He's been telling us all season.
Yeah.
15th and 16th, they'd be the lowest ranked teams in their current on their current tables in their respective leagues to win a European trophy, just so you know.
Well, I think there's been an element of fortune as well, because it's the first year the format's changed in the European competitions, isn't it? And the Champions League teams haven't filtered down into the Europa League, so you kind of knew what you're up against. And let's be honest, in cup competitions, both their squads are extremely strong. Yeah. They've just not been able to find that consistency in the league.
Yeah, it's going to be utter pandemonium.
Bilbao.
Do you think Ange is the one under more pressure?
I don't know if pressure is the right word. I look at Ange and I kind of get, I'm on my leave. Like, it feels like he's fed up. I don't think it's pressure, I think he's fed up of all of the questions and everything towards him. And like you said, Glenn, he said that he delivers in his second season. I think in his head, he's probably so sure that he's going to deliver it. He's like, why are we speaking about anything else? I told you what I'm going to do and I'm going to deliver it. So for him, I think that's where his mindset is. For Amorim, however, United are United. They are this pinnacle of football. They want to be back somewhere. And I think that even though their season has been so bad, you see in every small moment where something goes a little bit right, everyone's like, we're back. We're on the road again. So I feel like if United were not to win, the bubble bursting is bigger. Whereas with Spurs, they don't win anyway. So it's kind of like default. So I think there's actually more pressure on United in this situation. And the head-to-head does not favour United this year anyway. It's 3-0 to Spurs on head-to-head so far. So I think there's more pressure on United.
Well, Amorim's gone all in. I mean, he played the youngest Premier League team ever for Manchester United. And Chido Obi started at Brentford. There could have been something at the end. They had ended 4-3. He's really put all the eggs into this Europa League basket.
Well, I think both have, haven't they? Listen, Amorim's... He's under pressure because of the size of the club, but I feel as though his job's not under pressure like Ange's. I feel as though they're on a project together. It's going to take time. He never wanted to take over in the season. He came out and he said that he'd rather do it at the start, in a pre-season. But if he gets out of his first year with a cup, it'll be an amazing achievement. Whereas Ange, I feel as though he's very much on the... Well, there's a huge possibility the plug might get pulled on him, even if he does deliver success. And I half feel as though Ange is that point of winning the trophy, mic dropping, and just walking out of the building.
It feels like that. It does
literally. It feels like. But what I will say is I really like Ange because I feel as though we've got less and less characters in the game. Yeah. And Ange always delivers for us. And I think we almost probe him to give us even more week in, week out, and he's probably a little bit sick of us.
Oh, Andrew's just waiting for that, the video to come at the end that probably Mayowa's going to put on Instagram that just says, I win my second season, and then mic drop. Oh, an all Premier League final on May 21 then in Bilbao for the Europa League title. Welcome back to Team Talks. Now on Saturday, Bournemouth host Aston Villa with both sides chasing European dreams. Here's Unai Emery, but first, Andoni Iraola.
We've been really good this season. I think if you analyze not only the points we have and the wins, all the stats we have this season, offensively, defensively, we are there with teams that are really better than us. And and it's something to be proud of. And now we have to give the last push so we can get like something tangible from here, no?
They are performing fantastic. Performing fantastic. It's not a surprise. Last year, this year, they are competing to get European position as well. And the coach, Donny, is really doing fantastic job. They have very good players, talent players. This is Premier League.
Yeah, they've had a taste of it now. They've gone all the way to the quarterfinals. They know exactly what it feels like, and they want to get back there to Aston Villa. It's not in their own hands, and this is a huge game for them.
Massive game. For both clubs.
Yeah,
obviously, they're on their own little journeys, so to speak. I think it's going to be tough for Villa to reach Champions League. I think it's going to be too much of a stretch. But when you kind of, I know they want it, but when you zoom out and you have a look at their season and recap, it's semi-final of an FA Cup, quarter-final of the Champions League, and if you can get in the Europa League, ultimately when everything cools down and the season passes, that'll be a really successful season for Unai Emery and Aston Villa.
Yeah, big game for Villa. Your thoughts on it? And where Villa are at right now, coming into this one?
It's an interesting one. I think at the turn of the year, when you have Asensio and Rashford come in, you're like, yes, they've got that pull that they need to get them over the line. I think the Rashford injury is big for them. It's big for them. I think his own personal mission of what he wanted to do and matched with where Villa were would have probably been enough to keep them going. I just think that they're a little bit short going forward, which is probably going to be what it comes down to. So, but you've hit the nail on the head. If you look at their season, to get to those levels in those competitions and to walk away with European football in some way, shape or form, it is a good season and it's a good place to keep building from. What you don't want is to be here and then drop down again and then be up again. They're still in and amongst where they want to be, and he's great in Europa League. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, they'll look at Manchester United and Spurs and they'll think, do you know what? We went deep in the Champions League. If we get Europa League, we can win it.
Yeah, they've also got a couple of injury problems now. Tielemans, the latest one, he scored the only goal against Fulham. He was man of the match, which got them kind of back to winning ways, and now he's injured. Yeah,
they're starting to just listen. When we list the competitions they've gone deep into, there's obviously fatigue in the squad. I mean, I thought even looking at Unai Emery there, he looked tired as well. So they're limping towards the end. Injuries are coming, but as long as they secure European football, I think when the dust settles, they'll be happy.
Yeah, very key player for them. He started every match for Villa so far this season. It is a big miss. If you're just looking forward, and we're talking about all the teams who are going to strengthen, Asensio, who's obviously made a huge difference, what would you do with him next season?
Well, it depends if Villa can actually sign.
Well, that's what I mean. If you're Asensio, would you stay, basically?
I think so. I think he'll probably look at the project he's leaving and what they're doing and think, is there space for me realistically within that? Can I be with a manager that's going to help me and propel my career forward, especially when it's been stop and start? Villa's a good project to be involved with. Emery's a great manager. And I think there's actually space for him at Villa. It's the two positions behind that position which are stacked. But I think it's a good landing spot for him.
What would you do with Rashford?
Rashford, I think it's more so what does Rashford want to do? Rashford, for me, is a great player. I think if you look at what Emery does with forward players, he brings the best out of them. Watkins was someone that could play on the wing and play up front, and it didn't really work under Gerrard, and Emery comes in and makes him into a goal machine. You can tell that he will score goals for this team. It's about whether Rashford wants to leave the nest and actually try something new. And I mean, we'll see what happens with him.
What would you do if you were Rashford?
Listen, I'm sure he'll assess his options. I think he'll reflect on this move as being positive, rediscovered himself to a certain extent. Listen, I think there's still loads more to come from him. His capabilities are insane. So whatever he wants to do, whatever he decides to do, he'll want a little bit more out of himself. And I suppose it all boils down to who comes knocking.
Let's talk about the opposition then, the home side, Bournemouth, your former club. Massive win for them last Saturday to come from a goal down as well. Semenyo has been sensational. How do you wrap up their season as a whole so far?
Outstanding. When you take into consideration the size of the football club, I think this group of players Bournemouth have got is the best I've ever seen down there in the South Coast. I think one of their biggest problems is keeping hold of major players, your Semenyos, your Howsons. It's really exciting times. New training ground. I think they've got plans for a new stadium. But for me, the manager is just exceptional. And whether they can manage to keep hold of him for one more year, it'll be a big plus if they can get into Europe to kind of say guide us in Europe for a season, because I'm sure bigger clubs will be circling.
Yeah, if they're going to get into Europe, this would be a good game for them to win. We're going to get your predictions. But before we get Glenn and Mayowa to have a go at predicting some of the Premier League scores, let's bring you up to date with big talking points from the remaining 3 games across the weekend. We start with Fulham boss Marco Silva. They host Everton at Craven Cottage on Saturday, knowing a win could lift them into the top half of the table. Former Toffees boss Marco Silva is full of praise for David Moyes, who has overseen a great turnaround since returning to Goodison.
We know that you are going to face a very experienced team, mature, and of course with David having a massive impact there again. They were not in the best moment when he arrived, and the reality that from that moment they had a great run.
Brentford boss Thomas Frank says their game against Ipswich this weekend could be their toughest of their 3 remaining matches. That's despite Kieran McKenna's side having already been relegated back down to the Championship.
I think Kieran is a very good manager or coach. I think he's proven that you don't do what he or they have done together, him and his coaching staff and the club, going from League One to Championship to Premier League. That's remarkable. And for whatever reason they couldn't stay up, there are always many factors.
Brighton manager Fabian Hurtler is still targeting Europe, despite his side picking up just 1 win in their last 5 games. His team's trip to Wolves on Saturday is one of 3 remaining matches for Hurtler to see more from his players.
We all say that we want to improve. We are a club. We need to develop the young players. We want to grow as a team. We want to grow as a club, and therefore we see every game as opportunity to grow and improve. Every game is an opportunity where we can prove ourselves that we can compete with every team in the league, and therefore I hope that we don't need any extra motivation for that.
Yeah, I really want to talk about that game, but I want you to take us away because you have amazing memories of Wolves Brighton, because you hit a landmark goal in that game.
I did many moons ago, Jules. It was a fixture that I got my 100th Brighton goal in.
Here it is.
Do you know what? I still think this is a record for the oldest assister to the oldest scorer in the Premier League ever. I think Bruno was around 38 and I was probably 35 at this stage. And another funny story about this, a week earlier I got knocked out cold at Newcastle. I swallowed my tongue. I wasn't in a very good way. And I think now, I don't think I'll be allowed to play, but I managed to make it back 7 days later and scored my 100th goal.
Oh my goodness, that's the behind the scenes intel.
I was walking around the Royal Infirmary in Newcastle with my full kit on at 3:15, asking what score it was. I think people thought I was on a stag do. That's a true story.
I was just going for the record. Now you've given it. We're speechless. Okay, on that note, it's prediction time. And we're going to start with Fulham versus Everton. You can go, Mayowa. You can go first.
Fulham, Everton. I think Everton have got the most draws this season. I think they're going to break that record of 17. I'm going 1-1 draw.
2-1 Everton.
Ipswich, Brentford.
Brentford 3, Ipswich 1.
I'm going 2-0 Brentford.
Southampton, Man City.
5-0 City.
5-0 City. Erling Haaland hat-trick.
I was just going to say, how many is Erling Haaland going to get? Wolves, Brighton.
Oh, 2-2.
Oof. I think this has got 1-1 written all over it.
Okay, Bournemouth, Aston Villa.
I think that's got 2-2 written all over it.
Ooh.
I'm going for Cherries to get a big win, 2-1 Bournemouth.
And then the feature game of the weekend, Newcastle versus Chelsea. Champions League on the line.
I think it will be shared. 2-2.
I think...
And open the door for others to creep in.
I think Chelsea might rob a win. I'm going 2-1.
You hope, I think.
Both.
You guys don't like peace. Man United versus West Ham.
I think West Ham. I'm going 1-0 West Ham. I don't see United It's good.
I've got 3-1 Manchester United.
Okay, Forest Leicester.
3-0 Forest.
Okay.
I'll go 3-0 Forest.
Tottenham versus Palace.
1-1. I think both teams are putting some stuff in the tank for their big games coming up.
I think Palace will beat Spurs. 2-1.
Okay, Liverpool Arsenal.
Liverpool 4, Arsenal 1.
I was going to go Liverpool 3-0. Anfield coronation.
Okay. And then, as a bonus prediction, because we have a couple seconds left, Europa League final, Man United versus Spurs.
Oh, I think the funniest thing is going to happen, United win on pens.
Manchester United win. 3-2. It's going to be extraordinary.
Okay, that's your predictions for the weekend, the predictions for the 21st of May. Thank you to Glenn. Thank you to Mayowa.